Snorlax decides to click a fissure. Hey guys, Sableye here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're here with a match analysis video of my World Cup set versus Heriberto, and this is Chile versus Canada for the group stages of the World Cup, and I say we jump into things. So you guys will see shortly that I am using Ban Fox's Slow Bro Evil Dawn team, which you know what, just felt like a good matchup this week. Just gave me something. It was a solid team, and that's all I really needed. Now I'm immediately, I don't want to say panic mode, but I'm a little bit stressing because I have no clue what's going on my opponent's side of the field. I don't think I've ever seen a Zacian Solgaleo core before in my life. Snorlax is kind of underused as well, and honestly, seeing the instant Zapdos obviously does close things out nicely, and of course there is my my beloved Sableye on the other team as well. So going into game one, I am immediately trying to figure out how I want to go about winning this game, and in order to do that, in order to figure that out, I need to get as much information as possible from my opponent right now. So I'm going to lead the Regieleki because immediately looking at their team, I said, okay, Life Orb Regieleki, if they don't respect it, can realistically just run them over. And I believe I ended up going a Lecky Groudon. I will change this in a second. I do go Lecky Groudon with, I believe, Incin Venu in the back, just because I felt like with the Yveltal, there's a very good chance they actually don't bring the Solgaleo, because they probably want something like this. They want the Zapdos. They need to have Incin for Intimidate. They obviously want Zacian for Yveltal as well. So there's a very good chance they don't actually bring the Solgaleo because they can't proc its weakness policy with the Sableye, because they can't really afford to bring the Sableye. Now, they might bring it anyways, but I feel like with Groudon and Max Flare and Venusaur, I should be okay to pull through anyways, even if they were to bring it. But we're gonna opt for not bringing the Yveltal right now, just to see what happens here. And honestly, it's a very, very spooky going into game one, because like you don't know what's going on. And to me, I'm one of those players that if I know what's going on and I can feel comfortable in the matchup, I have no issues pivoting around, right? Like I feel comfortable pivoting around in the position-based games to get to my win con. But until I know what my win con is, it's very, very shaky. So instant Zapdos lead for my opponent, and I'm content here to kind of say, you know what? Zapdos does not want to be on the field. It's a tough read to make, but even if it were to stay on the field, it's not the end of the world for me, because what's it really going to do? If it stays on the field, it might max. I don't know if it's safety goggles or anything like that on this team. May not be. Could be the instant with the goggles. So you know what? I said I'm going to just stay in. I'm going to double up into the Incineroar, drop a Precipice Blades, drop a Max Lightning into the Instant, get this cat out of here before it can do anything like Parting Shot. They could have also Max guarded their Zapdos and Parting Shot off my Alecki. So just hitting the Instant, which generally isn't going to carry Protect, felt like my best play for me. So like I said, we're going to go for the Lightning and the Precipice Blades. And this was just very much so a scout turn, and we actually get it beautifully. So Zapdos is going to pivot on out. We are going to see the Snorlax, meaning this actually confirms what I thought in Team Preview, where they're not going to be bringing Solgaleo, because there's no reason for them to not have Zacian in this matchup. Zacian is way more valuable for them than Solgaleo would have been, in my opinion. So seeing Snorlax basically semi-confirms that it's Zacian in the back and not Solgaleo, or at least one of the two, probably Zacian. And I'm in over the moon right now. We've got the Incineroar eating this Max Lightning. It's going to take massive damage and probably get finished up by the Precipice Blade. Now, Groudon, buddy, if you ever wanted to be good. Groudon, buddy, if you ever wanted to be good, now would be a fantastic time. You know? Groudon, buddy. No, didn't think so. Groudon is a terrible Pokemon, and you cannot convince me otherwise. So we are going to miss the Precipice Blades, and that's bad in two ways. Regieleki takes about 60% of its health, and I don't get an item reveal on the Incineroar. So I don't know if there's a Goggles there, I don't know if there's a Shuca Berry there. Well, granted, I wouldn't know the Goggles yet, but it would have been able to tell me if there was a Shuca Berry. And if there was no Shuca Berry, then I could presume Goggles, or, you know what I mean? I could figure it out that way. But missing that Precipice Blades hurts. Regieleki takes 60%, and I do not know the instance item regardless. Now, it's not the end of the world here. Right, Regieleki still Dynamaxed, still shreds through my opponent's team. I have no clue what Snorlax wants to do, and Zacian comes on the field. So, in this position, I can just preserve my Groudon pretty safely. right? Preserve the gas, preserve the Groudon. It's pretty safe. I don't necessarily need to switch, but I'm more concerned about Snorlax going for maybe something that can do something here. And it's one of those ones where if Snorlax wants to pressure my Groudon on Zacian's Protect, and I preserve the Groudon, that's fine. I have a free Intimidate switch, and that I might as well take, right? And the max lightning target for me is tough, because I want to hit the Snorlax, because Zacian should protect, because Zacian doesn't want to die. But if I ignore the Zacian, I feel like I'm in a very rough position. So I actually bring in Venusaur here, which I kind of disagree with now looking back on this, because I feel like Instant was the freest switch in the world. We hinder off their Zacian. It provides fake out pressure as well on the following turn to cover for the fact that Zacian protects. So I got this switch wrong. That was definitely a misplay on my end, and we're going to get the Max Lightning. Unfortunately, we did hit the wrong target. We did hit the Zacian. But to me, Snorlax didn't scare me, right? Snorlax can only do so much right now, whereas the Zacian is the threat. Snorlax is going to go straight for that double edge, and Regieleki is going to go down. See, now had I been at full health, because the Instant would have gone down to the press plays, that wouldn't have mattered, but we're not going to dwell on that. I should have switched in Instant anyways. Aleki might have even survived that had I switched in Instant, right? You don't know, right? But I did get that turn wrong, although I'm not in a terrible spot yet. So Groudon comes back in, and we have free Weather Ball into Zacian. Now it did just protect. Weather Ball from my Venusaur should be enough to pick up Zacian since we are in the sun. There's really no switching because Zapdos doesn't want to take it anyways. We get the P-Blades just in case, for whatever reason, Zacian decides to not dive to this Weather Ball. I have to press this Blades. It makes the most sense, and we go for that. But you should see Zacian staying on, switching out here, right? It doesn't want to be on the field to eat this, whereas Zapdos can come in and kind of just at least tank it a little bit better. Probably going to have something like Roost, how defensively they've been playing the Zapdos. Probably not the most offensive Zapdos in the world, but there's the Weather Ball into the Zapdos right there for some nice damage. Actually, I believe it does about 50%, yeah. So we take about 50%. Groudon is going to press his Blades. This one, now you're going to connect. Yeah, you love hitting this Snorlax, eh, Groudon? And Snorlax decides to click a Fissure and is actually going to connect it onto the Groudon. So I was in a safe position. I was in a perfectly fine position to win this game. But Snorlax hits the Fissure and says no. So yeah, at this point it's panic mode for me now, because my adaptation was going to be Slowbro, right? Because they're bringing Zacian. Once I get rid of Zapdos, Slowbro just wins, right? So unfortunately now I can't really do the Slowbro thing, because they always have the pressure of just Fissure. So I could waste like 2 turns setting up Iron defenses. They just click Fissure. It was a waste of time for me. So Slowbro all of a sudden is off the table moving forward into the future games in this set. But I don't hate my position here. Obviously this game 1 is pretty much over at this point, but I still feel comfortable in the set because I still have, like I said, Max Aleki. I got the reads right, and I just got unlucky on the initial turn to let that set up for them, right? Because I could have still had Aleki on the field right there, and this entire game would have been completely different. So I don't feel too bad at this point. I'm just maneuvering around, trying to come up with anything. So I parting shot in Weather Ball. I hit the Zapdos because I didn't think it would want to max at 50%. I figured there was a chance for Snorlax to be the Dynamax in here, because it makes sense for Snorlax to max, right? Zapdos has already taken 50%. I'm not sure if you're safety goggles or not. He obviously knows if he is or not. So if I go for the Sleep Powder, he would. I can't Sleep Powder the Snorlax. It just felt safe to make sure the Zapdos went down. But Zapdos is indeed going to drop the Dynamax, and it is indeed going to max guard. Now, in my opinion, the way I look at this, I think to myself, I wonder if that's Life Orb loose. Right? Because if you're safety goggles, you don't really necessarily need to max guard there, because what are you max guarding from? And if you're Life Orb and you have Protect, you just give it a quick Protect, right? So to me, in my opinion, that looks like it's just going to be Life Orb with Roost, no necessarily no Protect, or Life Orb with Eerie Impulse. Just no Protect on the Zapdos is what I would consider. But at least that's what I was thinking at this point. And now I'm going to Flare Blitz the Snorlax. I know it's not going to do a whole lot. It's more than likely going to be Thick Fat, just to tank some attacks. But at this point, I don't really have much, right? I can double the Zapdos. At this point, though, I'm thinking to myself, hey, Zapdos is not safety goggles. I'm going to put it to sleep right here. Chip down this Snorlax. Let the Zapdos come out of max. And from there, we honestly should be okay. We may be able to still pull this back. Obviously, it's still rough. Zacian's going to come in the late game, stall out my Sun. Sleep Powder does go off, and we do see the safety goggles from the airstream right there. And Venusaur is going to come on out. And Venusaur is going to die thanks to the airstream. And this game's all but over now. I don't think I forfeited yet. I think I wanted to see how much damage Flare Blitz was doing in the sun to his Zapdos. I just wanted to see the damage that I put, right? I also think we run out of sun as well. So Flare Blitz is going to come out into the relax. Did a respectable amount of damage considering it is more than likely to be thick fat, but obviously Flare Blitz in the sun from a 120 base attack is going to be pretty solid. So instant killing, dodging that fissure there. Thankfully didn't get hit by 2 fissures in one set, and we're going to survive for the time being. And like I said, at this point it's more of a I need to scout how much damage I'm actually doing to Zapdos. So let's see if we can do it. Maybe I should have Flare Blitzed the Zapdos the previous turn, right? Maybe I would have picked up the knockout. I think that's what I decided to do. Just see how much damage I could get off, see what was going on, and take it from there. So my opponent is is thinking a little bit harder, but I don't know why. Honestly, he already has this set with just a Sacred Sword from the Zacian in the endgame, especially after airstream chip damage here. Yeah, he probably wins this with Behemoth Blade now. Anyways, we are just going to Flare Blitz into this Zapdos here. And they are going to fissure again, so I question the fissure, but at the same time, I wonder if, 1, it could be style points. 2, I think it's interesting, right? Because there's always that, you know, like if I miss a fissure this turn, I'm more likely to hit the next one, which obviously doesn't matter. It's still 30% either way, but that feeling exists, right? That feeling of I just rolled 3 straight 6s, the chances of rolling another 6 is very unlikely, right? Or I haven't rolled a 6 in 52 turns. Eventually I'm going to roll a 6, but it's still possibly going to happen, right? So the gambler's fallacy there, I respect going for the fissure there, right? Maybe thinking, hey, if I miss another one, well then maybe I'm 1 for 3 on it. I can potentially, I'm closer to hitting another one. Obviously game doesn't work like that, but I do respect it because, like, I don't know, it's a confidence game, right? You have confidence to click fissure, maybe you'll connect it, right? Like they clicked it on the ground, they got it. So I don't know, it's wild. It is wild, but like I said, going into game 2, I am still super confident that I have that I'm in a good spot here. We're just going to skip ahead a little bit here to get to team preview, because there we go. Alright, like I said, I think I can do generally the same thing, although this time I'm going to lead the Venusaur. Because what Venusaur does is it pressures Sleep Powder as well, so they have to respect the fact that Aleki could attack, they have to respect the fact that Venusaur could attack. I now have Groudon in the back, and it's a question of do I want a Veltal or Instant, right? I opted for Incineroar again because I think after winning game 1, they really didn't have a reason to bring the Solgaleo, right? They could have made the adaptation, but once again, I feel the same concept as, hey, if they bring Solgaleo, I still have Max Flare, I still have Groudon, I still have Big Aleki to do some big damage to it, so it's not the end of the world if they manage to bring it. I also have Burning Jealousy as well if I need to desperation pivot to that. So I didn't feel too outclassed if they were to bring Solgaleo here, but they go for the Instant and the Snorlax lead, and this to me is absolutely perfect. Because I don't know what Snorlax is really going to do to my big Regieleki here. We saw how much the Max Lightning did to Instant in the first game, so it's just a simple helping hand and drop the Instant. In my opinion, there is nothing they can do that's gonna. They don't have a switcher. Zacian comes in, it dies. They still have Zapdos in the back, it dies. So Solgaleo would take massive damage. If they bring in and they adapt it to the Sableye doesn't appreciate it. Like, I don't think they have a single switcher, right? So this is, to me, super safe. They can't fissure a Dynamax Pokemon, so I'm safe. I have a free kill over here. If they go for the fake out into Venusaur to stop a Sleep Powder, by all means, they can go ahead and do that. Because I get my helping hand up first, we drop the Instant, and then from there, Max Regieleki should be able to sweep. But we'll see what they go for here. We are going to Dynamax. I was going to say they are going to Dynamax, but I don't believe they did here. But like I said, just guys, this is super safe play here. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong from here, right? I mean, the biggest thing that can concern me here is Max Quake from Snorlax to help set them up for the future turns. But then they're maxing a Snorlax in front of a Dynamax Regieleki, and they're not really necessarily giving themselves much of a boost. So they're not going to max here. We are going to max Lightning right here into the Instant, and like I said, goodbye. Alright, so instant is gone. Like I said, they didn't have a singular switch in right there. And yeah, so instant's gone, and we're going to see what this Snorlax wants to do. We have seen Fissure. I don't know if they're going to hit it into the Venusaur. They're going to click Yawn, though, into the Venusaur, which is now protected by electric terrain. Perhaps they were considering Venusaur would be my Dynamax, which is fair because they want to fake out the Venusaur, right? You fake out the Venusaur and you basically force it to max, right? That's the pressure they had on the field, which is why I like Helping Hand Venu, because I'm not forced to max to get around it. So now the Zacian is coming back in here, and in my opinion, I hit the Zacian again because I could hit the Snorlax here. I don't know that damage count. Maybe I blow it up. I'm really not certain. Right? But at the same time, I think I'm better off just hitting the Zacian. They know I hit the Zacian into the Protect last turn. They might be considering, hey, he's not going to hit into the Protect again, right? So, you know what? Let's hit into the Protect again just in case they don't Protect. Because once again, Snorlax is not a threat at the moment. They are going to Dynamax it. So now it does become a little bit spooky. But as I said in the past, it's not a big deal. It's not a massive threat right now. Their best play is like Max Strike or Max Quake. One of those two options is more than likely going to be coming out right here. But I'm not overly concerned. If they go for like a Max Strike, I can still switch out Regieleki, get my Groudon in, so then Venusaur is faster and I can Weather Ball. And by Helping Handing in the Max Lightning here, I'm doing close to 50% through Protect anyways, and that should definitely put it into the range of a Max, of a Weather Ball that's a Fire Weather Ball, I should say. Right, so we'll see what they go for here, and they do opt for the Max Quake, so now I'm pretty content, because Regieleki is still faster, and Helping Hand, Max Lightning, Stretch Zacian. Right, I do think Max Strike was their better play there, personally. Thankfully, they decided not to go for it, which is super, super nice, and we're pretty safe now in my opinion, because, like I said, I just go Helping Hand, Max Lightning again. The Zacian cannot Protect again. Now, they could go for the double, and if they get the double, they get the double. There's not much more I really can do in this position. I have to just launch it into the target that's probably not going to be able to Protect. Right? Just go Helping Hand, just go Max Lightning. I have no reason to do anything else. I could try to make a pivot, calling your double Protect, but there's only a 30% chance they get it anyways, and they're not even guaranteed to inflict it. Right? So we're going to go for the Max Lightning regardless. And like I said, they're probably just going to try and kill off my Alecki. Maybe with a Zacian, maybe they'll go for the double Protect. They do go for the double Protect. Zacian is not going to be able to succeed. And Max Lightning is going to come out and take out the Zacian in exchange for that. So thank you, dog. Very cool. And Snorlax, of course, should just be attempting to drop my Alecki. There's no real reason for it not to at this point. And there is the Max Quake. Thankfully, they are leaving Venusaur on the field. They spent 2 turns of their Max dealing with my Max, and my Max has taken out 2 turns, 2 Pokemon in return. And you know it's probably the Zapdos at this point. I don't think there's a reason they wouldn't want Zapdos in this, right? Zapdos is very, very solid into something like Venusaur, into my Instant, into my Groudon. Like, Zapdos does a number to my team if they get through Regieleki. So I would assume there's a Zapdos in the back. If it is the Solgaleo, I still have it covered. If it is the Sableye, I still have it covered. There's really no issues here with what they have in the back. It's more so of how do I break through this Snorlax now. I do have SD on the Groudon, but the problem is, if I'm taking a turn to click SD, am I going to get Fidget? Right? And that becomes the question. If I'm taking a turn to click SD, am I going to get Fidget? To me here, this is double into Zapdos. And it felt safe because one, they were safety doggles, meaning they normally don't have Protect. And because they didn't click Protect in game 1 on the turn they could have, I had a free turn. I am going to Rock Tomb though, just slow down to Zapdos and pivot in the instant. I did decide to say, you know what, let's preserve Venu because I can actually get Sleep Powders on this Lax later, which will allow me to get Swords Dance ups and buy me turn. Right, getting a Sleep Powder onto the Lax buys me a turn with Swords Dance to allow me to catch up with whatever this Snorlax wants to do. Because just spamming Precipice Blades is not going to be good for me. Of course, the Intimidate onto the Zapdos isn't going to matter all that much, but it's fine. We've got a big Heat Wave coming up from the Zapdos, so safety goggles Zapdos with Heat Wave is something that's super, super rare. I really didn't think they were going to be able to put up that kind of damage, and I just dropped the Rock Tomb. Zapdos takes chip, and the drop of the speed goes off, and they're gonna max strike to correctly counter that max speed to counter the speed drop there, which is perfectly fine, more than okay. I can't really complain about that. That's just a good play on their end, just to keep the speeds even. So their Zapdos, of course, now still being faster than me. And this is where it gets scary, because Snorlax, I have to hit the zap. I can't ignore the zap. And Snorlax can just click Fissure. Eventually, he's gonna hit another one, right? You keep throwing out 30s. Eventually, they're gonna hit. One of those 30% chances is gonna hit, right? Like, it's the same rate as a Scald burn, guys. And Scald normally burns, so eventually, if you keep swinging with Fissure, you're gonna hit them. And like I said, I still don't think Zapdos has this protect. So this is easy for me. Just double into the Zapdos, fake out, not take any more damage than I need to, and drop the Zapdos. Get rid of it, and then come out and deal with this Snorlax. There's the fake out into the Zapdos, and the Rock Tomb, which will pick up the Zap. So now Snorlax has a free turn to launch a Fissure, which I think is super, super scary right here. And we are going to see Snorlax decide to click the Curse instead, which I'm okay with. I'm not super, super angry with that. Right? It's a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world, right? They want to boost their defenses right now, which is completely fair. I 100% respect that, because they want to boost their defenses so that they can survive more Precipice Blades. Now I'm going to Parting Shot here so I can get my Sleep Powder on the field. And I'm going to Protect, because I do think Snorlax would be very, very greedy if it tried to get another Curse up here. If he gets another Curse up, it's a good play on their end, but if they go Curse, I get to put Sleep Powder SD, and then I just match all the curses anyways, so it's not a huge deal if they decide to curse. So I'm going to cover for the Fissure play. We're going to Parting Shot here. Going to get the Venusaur back in. Now, they could Fissure this Venusaur slot, right? They could Fissure the Venusaur slot. And, I don't know, it's just super uncomfortable going up against Fissure Snorlax. It is super, super uncomfortable. There's the Fissure. We do thankfully get it into the Protect, so Groudon is going to tank it there a little bit longer. And here is a Sleep Powder, and we're going to get the big ol' SD up. Like I said, this is what I wanted. I wanted to save Venusaur to buy me turns for SD, and I'm going to miss the Sleep Powder, because, you know, Venusaur being Venusaur, but it's fine. We get our SD up, and as long as they don't connect Fissure, if I miss a Sleep Powder and they connect the Fissure, well, then the world did not want me to win that game, right? So now I'm just going to SD again, because once again, I am more likely to hit Sleep Powder than they are to hit Fissure. So we do get the Sleep Powder up right there. Yeah, absolutely love to see it. And we're going to get an SD up as well. So Groudon going to launch a P-Blades out next turn. Kind of just chilling for the most part here. And Snorlax takes a nap. So this is where I double check, make sure I am +4, make sure they're only +1 defense. Just got to double check that right there. Indeed, only +1, and I believe I checked if I was +4. I did. Alright, so this is one of those ones. I'm going to launch a Leaf Storm. I know they're +2 special defense. I just want to see how much it does. I might as well get the chip damage off before I pivot into Instant, just because a little bit of chip damage could matter. So, chip damage is off, and Precipice Blade is going to come out. And that is well more than enough chip damage. And now I switch to Rock Tomb since it is a little bit more accurate. They're going to get a little bit of lefties back, which is more than enough. I think I also just Leaf Storm again as well. It's low enough to where I might as well just spam attack. So we're going to do exactly that. Rock Tomb and Leaf Storm. I don't think Leaf Storm ever kills, but we shall see what happens. Obviously I can miss the Leaf Storm as well, but at this point I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I'd have to miss a lot of attacks, and they'd have to hit a lot of Fissures to be able to win this game. Like, they'd really have to pull this one back. It would honestly be the most RNG, one of the most RNG based games I've ever seen if they managed to win this. Because like I would have to miss Rock Tomb into missing Leaf Storm, into them hitting the Fissure, into Instant coming in, into Fake Out, into missing Leaf Storm, into missing Leaf Storm, into somehow them living Flare Blitz. Like, it just wouldn't happen, and then them hitting 2 more Fissures. Like, it just wouldn't happen at that point. Leaf Storm does manage to pick up that Snorlax though. And that will wrap up game 2. So now we're heading into game 3. And this is scary, right? Because I still think there's still a shot, an outside shot that they bring Solg, but I don't think it's likely. Now the question is, do I cover for it? Because I could make the hard read that they're going to bring Solg. And if they decide to bring Solgaleo, it's very spooky. Because I don't really have much of an answer to it if I don't bring a Veltal. Now, if I bring a Veltal into something like Zacian again, it's not the greatest form. Like, Zacian Zapdos really threatens the Veltal here. So I completely understand, like, the concept of the core. I think they do just lose to a well-played Groudon. But I do respect the concept of the core, right? They had Solgaleo. They were scared of a Veltal. They said, nope, Zacian Zap. And it makes sense. But I do think I can blow them up with Max Regieleki again. So I figured to myself, okay, if I lead Regieleki Venu again, I can bluff the exact same lead, but play it differently, right? Because they have to respect the fact that I can max Regieleki and blow everything up. So I figured, you know what? Let's just go for that again and play it differently. I have Volt Switch, so I can get free chip damage turn 1, get the Venusaur, get the Eleki on the field, do the exact same thing, but this time I think they might try to Dynamax to capitalize. If they lead the same, they might lead Solgaleo, but it gives me the most options, right? Because I can max Eleki immediately, I can max Venu switching Groudon, right? This gives me the most options, right? So I just went with the thing that gave me the most options. There was really no reason for me to bring a Veltal. As I've said in the past, like, it would be nice, like, if they brought Solgaleo and I brought a Veltal, it's just a win, right? But they haven't brought it yet. If they want to bring the Solgaleo, that once again, like I said, if they want their policy, they have to bring the Sableye, and I don't think they can afford to bring both. So I think the way they've been playing it is probably them opting to not bring it again. So we are going to lead Venusaur Regieleki into what I believe is ended up being Zapdos Snorlax. Yeah, in case maybe covering in case I let a Veltal. I don't know if I agree with the Zapdos Lax because I've been leading Eleki consistently. And I don't know what this does versus Regieleki. Like, I don't know what this does versus Regieleki, which is a lead I question. Right now, we know Zapdos doesn't have Protect. It could stay in Max Guard, but if it stays in Max Guard, I'm Sleep Powdering Snorlax anyways. And I Volt Switch the Zapdos for free right now anyways. So, right, there's a whole lot of things that can go right for me. They have to respect the Max Eleki that can blow up the Zapdos. They have to respect the Max Eleki that can probably blow up the Snorlax as well. I called the Zapdos switching on turn 1. This time, you know what? I've maxed Eleki 2 games in a row. Let's play it slow. Let's Volt Switch off and get a Sleep Powder up here, and this gives me perfect options moving forward. Because even if I miss the Sleep Powder, it doesn't really matter. Snorlax doesn't really put on immediate pressure. They're even going to Dynamax it, which is beautiful for me. And if I connect this Sleep Powder, I believe it's just GG. Like, you'd really have to, I'd really have to mess this game up in order to find a way to lose at this point. So, we're going to try and connect this Sleep Powder here. We're going to Volt Switch and just reset. I believe I bring in Instant. Actually, I just bring in Groudon, don't I? I don't know. I think either or is perfectly fine. Like, I bring in Groudon because it puts immediate pressure onto the Incineroar as well. So why not go for that? Right? No need to bring in the Instant right now. Save the Instant in the back for Zacian switching later on so I can intimidate that. Bring in the Groudon. Obviously, I might have to eat like a Max Quake. I might have to eat a Max Strike. There's a few things that I could have to take here. But that's all if I miss a Sleep Powder. So Groudon just felt super safe. Venusaur gonna click the Sleep Powder on turn 1. Snorlax gonna take a nap. Snorlax, of course, gonna guaranteed sleep this turn. And, yeah. So at this point, it would be really difficult for me to lose this game. I Weather Ball and Precipice Blades. This once again covers the fact that they might try to preserve Incineroar for an Intimidate. If they bring in the Zapdos, I get the Weather Ball. It's just the safest play. And they're actually going to cancel the battle. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Yes, I had a very optimal position. Do I think I win the game barring any sort of mess up on my end or any sort of miraculous play from their end? Yes. But I really don't agree with the forfeit. I don't know. In my opinion, the current week score was 4-0 for Canada. They're fighting for potentially pulling back a tie. I do not agree with the forfeit there. I mean, Snorlax could have easily woken up that turn, and it could have immediately changed the game back, right? Granted, like I said, I am in a very good spot. I have late game Max Eleki. They've really gained nothing so far. But I do disagree with that forfeit. But regardless of that, we are going to take the W there. And Fissure Snorlax, guys. Honestly terrifying. I'm going to be honest. Well played to Heriberto for sure. They do produce content as well, guys. So if you guys are interested in that, I will leave some links down below to make sure to check them out. But with that, guys, I am gonna stop rambling, and I will catch you guys in a future video.